have the talent to repeat, but we must realize this. Winning again is not going to be easy. It's going to be tough, believe me.
Red Sox captain Carl Yastrzemski didn't realize how much of a prophet he was back in spring training, but Yaz had been this route before. He knew there would be days of frustration, days when nothing would go right. This time the breaks could go the other way. Experience told him the winning of a second straight pennant could be a rocky ride. Even though the experts had made the Red Sox top-heavy favorites to repeat, there would be no easy road ahead. The alarm Yaz sounded grew louder. Nearly 2 million fans would converge on Jersey Street for the 1976 season. Jamming the turnstiles, Fenway Park had a new look, a redone left field wall, $1 million scoreboard providing continuous information plus instant replays of exciting action. The American League Championship flag was hoisted and the hopes of players and fans rode just as high. The Red Sox started the season on an upbeat note. They did their thing with a flair during the early games, and for a short while, the team clicked. Unfortunately, 11 games into the '76 campaign, their luck turned from good to bad. It was the start of a nosedive, which would produce a 10-game losing streak. Red Sox foes could do nothing wrong, and the Red Sox, nothing right. Boston pitchers were helpless against the onslaught of some big bats. When was it all going to end?
Here's House's 1-2 pitch to Pruitt. Ground ball to second base. Doug Griffin should handle this, and it's over. The 10-game losing streak is over, and the Red Sox come out en masse to congratulate Tommy House, who wins his first game with the Red Sox. His first victory, and I'll tell you what a relief this is.
So the nightmare was over. The Red Sox responded by going on a tear, winning 8 out of 9. Yankee Stadium and the first confrontation with the New York Yankees. This single by Greg Nettles moved Lou Piniella to second base and set up one of the most vicious all-out brawls of the year. Bill Lee looked in for his sign, and soon the fireworks would start.
In the opposite field, and a base hit. Here comes the runner. Here comes the throw. And let's see. He holds on to it. Does he hold on to it? And they have a fight. Here they go. Piniella and miss. And the bench is empty. Piniella and Carlton Fisk. And Bill Lee is hurt. Bill Lee is lying on the first base line, and he is hurt. A couple of the Yankee ball players jumped on him. Rick Burleson and a couple of others came over to try to pull him off, but he went down, and he is up now, holding his arm or something. Now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again. Mickey Rivers is the guy that's trying to hit everybody with a sucker punch. he's not getting anything. He's just running around behind everybody trying to hit him in the back of the head. I see Shambliss in there. I saw Velez in here. Enrico is going berserk now. Things have gotten out of hand here at Yankee Stadium. And Bill Lee is really hurt. And the crowd... They'll get there, too. They'll get there, too.
The wild scene all began with Carlton Fisk.
When I received the ball at home plate, I didn't have complete control of the ball in order to make the tag. As I was trying to gain control, I leaned into the path of the runner. Lou Pinella's knees turning, trying to knock the ball loose. I thought on his part it was an act of violence, maybe something that was a little uncalled for. Maybe even more than the Yankee rivalry situation that goes from year to year. I think in light of the way we were playing up to that time, it was, I think, more of a matter of frustration.
Bill Lee, lost for 2 months, was the big casualty in the bruising breakout, and the spaceman had his version of what really happened to him.
Clouded, I remember someone yelling, "We're not trying to hurt you," as my head was being kicked in from behind, and I drug myself out of the first pile, looked around for my glove, and then I went after Nettles, who I had remembered from my college days. And I went in there and proceeded to get knocked out the second time, and then I remember the umpires saying, let him go, let him go, and the only one that was helping was Terry Cooney, and Charlie Moss drugged me out the second time, and then the fans assaulted me in the dugout. Just an average day in New York.
The Red Sox weren't busting out all over when the month of June arrived, but they showed they were still capable of swinging the bat. And they did, at the expense of two of the best pitchers in the league, southpaw Frank Tanana and fastball ace Nolan Ryan of the California Angels. Was this an indication that the Red Sox had finally become on track? Were they finally turning it around? The Red Sox were in Oakland on the June 15th trading deadline. Vice President and General Manager Dick O'Connell, still convinced Darrell Johnson's team could win with some help, stunned the baseball world by purchasing Oakland stars Raleigh Fingers and Joe Rudy. These two standout performers actually joined the Red Sox in uniform, but 3 days later, this $2 million deal was voided by Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn. Dick O'Connell explains what happened.
In the middle of June, we were fairly close to the Yankees and had the hopes of overtaking them, and we were trying to make a deal with several clubs, particularly with the Oakland Athletics. And we had tentatively set a deal of 2 of our players for 1 of his, and then Mr. Finley was going to call us back the next day and said he'd like to scrap the idea of yesterday's proposal at that time and would now sell a bunch of ball players, a group of 6 ball players, for a certain price. He was in Chicago, I was in Oakland, he was with the head of the New York Yankees, Gabe Paul, and I figured if we did not get in this market to get 1 or 2 of these ball players, we'd fall greatly behind the Yankees in the situation, not only in the field, but also public relations-wise. So therefore, we made the deal in an attempt to obtain Rudy and Fingers. We also had the opportunity of other ball players, which we could obtain, but we thought at the time this was best for the club, and we did think the deal would actually go through. We were quite sure that it would go through. We firmly believe at the present time the only thing that stopped the deal from being made was the fact that Mr. Finley put a price on it, which upset not only the ball players, upset the commissioner, and upset many people in sports. The agreement that would have gone through was no mention of price whatsoever. I firmly believe there have been no questions asked, and we would have had Rudy and Fingers within the day.
But the Red Sox weren't the only people in the league having their problems. It's doubtful if Cleveland's Charlie Spikes will ever forget the trouble he had chasing fly balls in Fenway Park on a windy afternoon. Yes, things were tough all over, even for man's best friend, a dog who romped around Fenway one day to bring frustrations for some and for others some much-needed laughs. Despite some rough sledding, the Red Sox had a chance to get back in contention. A pivotal game in Baltimore. 1 out away from victory, Tony Muser's single brought Bobby Grich to the plate.
There's a long drive, left field, going back is Miller, way back, it's gone, and the ball game is over.
This game-winning home run would not be the only sudden demoralizing blow the Sox would suffer in '76, but at the time, it was a crusher. The baseball world was stunned and saddened on July 9th when Red Sox president Tom Yawkey, one of the most respected owners in baseball for more than 40 years, passed away. This great man, a compassionate friend to all, was gone. Dick O'Connell eulogized Mr. Yawkey's death simply but eloquently.
This past year was one of many disappointments, and no doubt the most severe one of all was the loss of Tom Yawkey on the 9th of July. He's been here for over 40 years, was a fixture, one of the most beloved owners in baseball, and his passing left very much of a void upon the whole organization, and it seemed strange to find out after he had passed away that he was no longer here, and you perhaps had nobody to call you, ask you questions, or perhaps nobody to report to for a period of time of what was taking place. And therefore, I do think that baseball in Boston lost their best benefactor.
The Red Sox were playing .500 baseball at the All-Star break. Then came a crucial 13-game road trip. This was to be the string of games to determine whether the Sox would be serious challengers to the first-place Yankees or fall completely out of the race. 5 losses in Kansas City spelled the Red Sox doom. Manager Darrell Johnson was relieved of his job, and third base coach Don Zimmer took over. Zimmer stirred things up, but on the last day of the trip at Yankee Stadium came the final crushing blow.
And there's a long drive deep to right field. Back is Evans, and the ball game is over.
Chris Chambliss had struck a 3-run homer to give the Yankees a 6-5 triumph and a sweep of the series. Under Don Zimmer, the Red Sox became aggressive. This suicide squeeze set the tone for Zimmer's Red Sox. The gutsy former infielder, who learned his trade with the Dodgers, emphasized hustle and fundamentals. He wanted to have a .500 record by the end of the season, and he exceeded his goal.
Well, when I took over this ball club, I thought it was kind of a dead ball club. We wasn't running enough, and the way I felt, we needed some more hitting and running, and when you have good pitching that keeps you in ball games, you can play hitting and running. And I can recall at one time where I've always wanted to hit and run as a manager with the bases loaded. And one time with Bon Montgomery hitting, we had the bases loaded, 3-2 count, and we played hit and run. And I think that this is a kind of game that I want to play, and if my players can execute what I want to try to do, I think we'll win the games that I think we can win.
Like so many times in the past, no one contributed more to the Sox team effort than Carl Yastrzemski. He had one of the best seasons of his 16-year career. Captain Carl's home run output had been edging downward the past couple of years, but he changed that trend drastically, highlighted by a long ball spree in mid-May starting in Detroit. Carl belted 1 home run. Then another. But he wasn't through yet.
And there's a deep drive right field. Stop going back. It's gone in the upper deck. Carl Yastrzemski has hit his 3rd home run of the ball game.
The next night in New York, he continued his onslaught against the Yankees.
There's a drive deep to right field. Back goes Munson. Get all right. All right. 5 in 2 days for number 8.
Yaz led the Red Sox in runs batted in with 102, right up there among the league leaders. He used every way he knew to bring across runs, and some of them were mighty big ones. Nobody realized better the kind of a year Yastrzemski was having than his teammates. But Yastrzemski's efforts were not limited to his booming bat. He showed that he still had the hands and instincts to handle almost any job.